Welcome back to Ox Tools. I'm Tom. So today what we're doing, this is a continuation of the etching press hand wheel. We did the radiusing of the spokes, and we're going to do some weld assembly and some sanding, and then ultimately we're going to radius the outside rim with the big troikey rotary table. So it's a lot of work, and probably take a couple videos to get through it. And but there should be some real interesting stuff in there. The goal is to try to keep this thing as round and as flat as possible. That was one of the reasons for making an assembly fixture, so the parts got assembled accurately. So generally, if you can assemble them accurately and get them tacked up in a very accurate condition, from there you can control weld distortion and get back to a good condition. If you would assemble badly or incorrectly, very difficult to bring it into specifications. So generally you want to start as good as you can, and then your welding will do its distortion, and then you correct for those things, and you should be able to get back where you started from. I say that now. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's get cracking here, and let's put that wheel together. And
okay, what I wanted to show was I'm doing a little bit of hand work on these spokes for the hand wheel, and this was the finish that was left from the router bit. And it looks pretty gruesome from a machining standpoint, but what I wanted to do was show you what it takes with a file to kind of clean that up. And now this is a Nicholson super shear, and it's kind of this free cutting flat rasp. I don't even actually know how they just call it a super shear. I don't know how they describe it, but this to me is like a rasp. It's kind of for soft metals, and this is fairly soft, soft steel. But the chip's clear. It's got these little chip breakers notches in it, and the chips break and it doesn't load up. But let's do a little filing on this section here, and you guys will get a sense of just how quickly this comes up. Now I'm not working very hard here, but I've got total control. It's not a power tool, so it's got a brain attached to it, right? Instead of 110 volts. And you can see that it cleans right up, okay? And a little Scotch-Brite on a power sander, on this, and that'll just smooth that right out, and I'm done. So anyway, that's the super shear, and then the router bit finish there, cleaning that up. All right, so we got all the weld prep on the joints here. We're all radiused. We're actually ready to start doing some tacking here. It's a little hard to clamp out in the middle out here. I probably should have done something a little different out there, but we're going to work with it here. So I'm going to get some tacks on it, kind of working from the center outward, and see how it goes. And I don't know. This is all nice on the outside, so I'm not too worried about it. It's clamped down pretty good. I just got to get the spokes in the same plane here, so I'll move this around a little bit and get these tacked in the center. So let's go for it. Okay, so got it tacked up pretty good. I'm going to pop it out of the fixture here, or my guide template. some more fingers. I suppose I could. I'll be real careful with it right now. So I got some little scorch marks on it where I was tacking it. Not too bad though. I was able to get in there and get at what I wanted to get at. This thing's heavy. Pretty good. So I think I'm going to flip it over and get some tacks on the other. I got some tacks here and I got some tacks on the edges here, but I'll flip it over and get some more tacks in the central part on the opposite side. So I don't know, so far so good. Oh, yeah, that's heavy. I'll have to weight it, or figure out the weight anyway. Let's see, something in here. I don't want to tweak anything right now. It's moving, so actually let me, that's down on the table now. Table, which is fine. Okay. I'm happy. All right, here you can see the weld prep around that tenon that's coming through from the other side. So we've got weld prep here, weld prep here, weld prep all around that, and the same thing on the other side. So that'll all get welded and then blended smooth there, so you don't even see it. All right, and there's the temporary center hub there, and weld preps on both sides here. This will get welded around the corner there, and then the hub gets welded into this, which is just a simple fillet weld, so no prep necessary there. And then you can see how the radiuses come together in these intersections here. So, all right, and then the last area here of interest is the inside of the hand wheel and the weld preps and how these edges come into the inside, the ID of the ring. So those will get welded, and then that'll just kind of get blended into this area here, so it kind of looks like it was cast, like cast iron might look with a fillet in there. Bastard. Okay. More. Yeah. Okay, so I got some decent weld on the inside here, so what I'm going to do now is I made a little bushing. I made a bushing that fits this ID here pretty closely. And what I want to do is I just want to see, maybe a little too closely, I want to check the run out on some of these surfaces and see what I got on that. So I got this threaded hole in the corner of the table here, so I'm gonna bolt this down and then spin this thing. Actually, I'm gonna lube this first. Put some lube on that. A little bit of whey lube. It spins nice. This is what happens when a machinist makes stuff, you know, it fits too tight. And then a little lube on the flat surface there so it spins nice. Okay, so I like that. Okay, now we gotta do this thing. So, okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get I'll get an indicator and I'll clamp it on the table over there, and then we'll spin it on the OD of this thing and see what we got. All right, let's get an indicator on this thing. Get set up here. Our little Noga. Put my glasses on there. Alright. Put this there. Okay. And I got it up near the top so that it clears this this tenon that is poking through. So let's put a mark on there, make that 0, and go from there. All right, so here we go. It's not bad. That's pretty good so far. Ooh, 20 thou, something like that. There. That's moving away. There's my mark. up to the mark. So let's run that again. So that was 0. Minus 12. Or excuse me, plus 12. And there's our big one, minus 20. Yeah. So what's that? 32,000, something like that. Plus or minus 15. That's pretty good on the periphery. We got some welding to do, so we'll see how much that changes from after we weld it, and we'll go from there. See what happens. All right, one more thing. We'll do a top check here. See what we got on the top. Oops, what's going on here? So this is a little trickier here because there's a lot going on here. We're constraining this on the center, so this is a good setup for checking the periphery, but not such a good setup for checking the vertical. So I'm going to use ultimately I'll use the flat plane of the table to define this. I just want to spin it in this setup and see how bad it is. And yeah, when you're 30, 60, 80, 90. It's going the other way now, 60. Oop, not even touching anymore. Oh yeah, so what was that? So that was 90 one way. And actually, this is going to be one of the lows. See, I got to find the low here. Okay, so that looks like the turnaround point right there. Somewhere in there. So let's set that as our 0. The indicator only got so much travel. I suppose I could go get another indicator on time. Okay, so let's do that. 0. All right, let's try that again. Plus, plus, plus. Big plus. 100,000s, 120, 130. 160, 180, still touching. You know what, I gotta get a different indicator. So I think this is 200,000s travel on this, and I preloaded it maybe 50 or something like that. So yeah, we're somewhere around 1/4 of an inch here on this, is what it looks like. But like I said, this is not my ultimate test for this. I want to put it on this on the table, and that'll define the plane of this surface here for the wheel. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm trying to determine some weld sequence stuff here. So the periphery of this is pretty good as far as run out goes, but this
this surface here has got a fair amount of waviness to it. So we're going to try to help some of that with weld sequence, in particular these welds here. So what I'm doing is I got a piece of shim stock here. This is 10 thousandths quarter millimeter shim stock. And this table is ground flat, so it's precision ground, so it's within a couple thousandths probably of flatness. So what I'm doing is I'm going underneath this, and I'm just fishing underneath here, and I'm finding the tight spots. Like there, I can't get it in. So that's a tight spot. Anyway, this is telling me where those particular spots are. Let's get this out of the way. And what I want to do is I want to try to use the first initial welds to kind of help bring some of this in. So I got a big space under here. Okay, so that's definitely one that's going to get welded. Okay, because what that's going to do when I weld on this side, it's going to go down. Okay, this is going to shrink and it's going to push it that way. So that should help a little bit. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, and it's getting tight coming this way. This one's pretty close, actually. I can feel some resistance there. I'm going to leave that one alone. Okay, this one's down hard on the table. I can't get the feeler gauge under there. Or the shim stock, I should say. Feeler gauge, shim stock? Yeah, feeler gauge. This one's got a pretty good space under it here. So I think we'll do this one too. Okay, so, and that's kind of nice. These are opposing too. So what we'll do is we'll weld here, we'll weld there, we'll kind of let it cool off a little bit, and then we'll probe it again and see if we helped it. So we will probably have to do some straightening after it's fully welded, but if you understand where the problems are before you start going hog wild with the welding, you can kind of do a little bit of correction as you go along. So, but you got to do it in the right place. So, okay, so let's do that and see what we get. Okay, so what we got going on here? This was one of the spots that I want to do the weld on this side first to allow it to pull in this direction. And what I got going on here is I got it up on a couple of shims and no shims under here. So what I'm doing with these clamps is I'm just pulling it down slightly. Not enough to break the tacks, but just to kind of preload it in that direction, so that when I make this weld and it shrinks, I get a little more contraction than I would get with just the weld. Okay, so I'm looking for a little more. I'm enhancing the weld distortion is what I'm doing, or I'm trying to do here. So by just preloading, and these aren't real tight here, okay, I just want a little bit more than what I would expect from that weld. So this is kind of an experience-based thing here. You know, a weld of this cross section, from doing literally thousands and thousands of welds like that on steel, you get a sense of how much that's going to contract. Well, my sense is that I want a little bit more than that, than what I would get from that. So let's go ahead and weld that up and we'll see what we get. I'm not going to do every single weld on camera. It's just, you know, welding is welding, right? And it's the project that counts, right? So there was another one, yeah, it's across from this one that will do the same thing too over there. So let's get that fired up. Okay, so there's the weld I just put in there, and it's still warm, but it's mostly cool. So I got two big tacks on the outside, and then I ran between them and poked a fair amount of filler rod in there, and I didn't look at the amperage. The video caught it, but you know, it's 120 to 150 amps, something like that. That's my guess. Okay, so this is the weld we just did. Now I'm fishing the, you know, it's back down on the table, and
what happened, what I wanted to happen actually happened. So now this is starting to tighten up here. This was flying through there before. Now it's starting to grab. So I brought that down and achieve what I wanted to achieve. So I'm going to jump across the street over there and do that other weld. I'll zoom in on this weld just so you can see. It's a pretty hot weld. I laid in there pretty good, so we'll zoom in on that. Okay, so we got the all these not all the welding, but the welding that I was trying to do the correcting of the periphery, or not the periphery, excuse me, the rim, how well the rim is in plane. So the flatness of the rim, this surface here. So I got 2 indicators on it now. So let's. I've already spun it, so it's a lot better. So let's just go ahead and we'll run it around. Okay, so that's about where we started. So we lost a little on the OD here, not much, but we picked up a huge amount on the on this face of the rim. We were almost 200 thousandths on the face here, and you see how sensitive that is. I'm just barely touching that, right? We were 200 on that, and I think we were 32 or something on the, I don't remember what the numbers were, 32 on the OD. So we're considerably better there. We've got more welding to do. We just have to watch our sequencing and make sure that we don't take it back to Caca land. So anyway, so we improved it considerably. Okay. So now that's just a local wow there. So what we're looking for is a general trend. So there's a trend right there, going up, 30, 50, I think it was 65 about, yeah, 65, touch 65. You know, and there's just local areas. What I'm looking for is just kind of a general, oops. We passed our zero again. The general trend, you know, unless you grind this flat, you're just never gonna, you know, there'll be some local wows in it, you know, in particular, like where I ground it here, right? So I welded this, and this was ground off. So of course we're gonna see a little whoop-de-doo there, you know, and I can see under the scale a little bit there. So. But it's fairly minor, and you know it's a weldment, okay. So, but I want it to spin real nice, so that's why I'm taking a little extra time here and horsing around with it. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I want to do some welding on the and finish the welding up here in these tenons. I've got both sides welded here. But I got to weld around the spoke on the inside and around the spoke on the outside. So I'm looking at sequence again, and so you know we have a chance to do some corrective actions here, and so by mapping the run out. Okay, so we're in. So that's. Right, so that's in 25 there, right? So, okay, let's see. And I think the other one, I've spun this once before, a little bit before, so let me go around to the other side. Okay, and then this side is out, right? So we've got a, you know, kind of an eccentricity here. So I have a little bit of a choice here. Where I start the welding. So, and the idea is that if I start the welding in the right place, In this case here, we're this way, so I'm gonna weld on this side first, right? And then the opposite on the other side to try to reduce some of that that run out that the indicator is showing us. Anyway, it's just understanding where distortion is and how you can correct for it. So anyway, let's see. How do I want to explain that further? I don't know. Anyway, so in this case here, we're going to weld a little bit on the outside first, and then on this other side here, where this segment is in, okay, we're going to weld on this side a little bit first, which should contract that and push this out a little bit. That's the idea. That's what we're going to try, and so I'll pop it off of the spinner here and do a little welding on that, and we'll see how I do. So let's see if I can pop this thing off. Oop. I gotta get a block over there or something. What do I got? What it is. Let's see that. Pop that up a little bit. Hopefully I can just lift that straight. But it fits that pretty good, as you can see, so try to get it off there. Come on. There we go. By the way, this is getting heavy. So I've done a bunch of measuring and mapping here, and I want all the welding is done, and I have a little bit of out of roundness condition. Right now it's sitting at total indicator reading is about 40 thousandths 1 millimeter. So I'm going to try to get a little bit better than that if I can. And what I'm going to do is I've done a little mapping with the indicator and some calipers here. What I've done is kind of measure between the hub and the inside in a bunch of places to see where how this thing is shifted. So what I want to do now is apply kind of a corrective action, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some flame straightening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right in this region here is I'm going to heat a couple of bands in here and cool them off, and the idea is to pull this in and push the others out to average the this kind of ovality here that we have. So it's not much of an oval, and you know, this is a pretty heavy cross section, so we should have pretty subtle control over it by heating the inside. So I talk about these flame straightening techniques in my book. If you want to know more about them, they're in the book. There's a whole chapter on that. So let me get set up, and I'll move the camera around a little bit, and we'll do a couple of shrinks on the inside in here. We'll cool them off, and then we'll spin it and see what our indicator tells us. Let me get that out of the way. I don't want to melt my indicator or my calipers.
Okay, so we're kind of ready to go here. Got my bucket of cooling water there. Spark layer. Okay, spark layer. And the torch. Let's do this thing. More. Alright, so we'll get those cooled off nicely. You don't want to take any measurements until the thing is basically, you know, you can keep your hand on it without lifting it. Otherwise, you can get kind of false readings when you go back to check. So we'll see if we improve this thing. So the idea here is this was minus 15,000, something like that. So that what that means is it was in 15,000. So what we did here is by contracting the inside, we're taking this way a little bit, theoretically. So just imagine, you know, if you put a whole bunch of weld on the inside of this thing, it would get more curved in that direction, which has the effect of pushing that out. So anyway, let's get this all cooled off. I'll put the fan on it and we'll check it. Okay, so our little shrinks here, we picked up a little bit of improvement off of that. So I'm going to do a couple more. These weren't real heavy duty ones here. These are actually pretty light ones for this thickness of material. Normally the width of the shrink is equal to the thickness of the material. So these would be a lot wider normally. So I wanted to kind of go easy. I don't want to go too far. So what I'm going to do, since now I have a good kind of read on what I'm going to get from this size of shrink, I'm going to go back and put a couple more in here. Let's see, where am I going to go here? So I'll probably go on the outside of these, and then I'll come back and do the inside maybe. We'll see what we get off of this. But what I'm going to do is I've got this clamped to the bench, and I'm going to add a little enhance here. So I'm going to
kind of preload this in the direction, get it in there, that I want to go here. And not much, just a little bit. Okay, so you know, I preloaded that. It's not super tight. Oop, it's kind of moving. It's sitting on this radius here. Okay, so got a little preload on that. Then I'll sneak in here with the torch. And I think I'll just do one alongside it here and alongside the outside. We'll cool those off and see what we get. And that is probably going to be pretty close to Dunsky on this one. So we'll see where we end up there. All right, let's go ahead and do it. Take that off. All right, so I'll let that cool off, and then I'll do a little measuring. Okay, so this is just, you know, nicely warm to the touch, not hot at all. You know, I can stick my tongue on there. It's not that hot. We're going to put the indicator on here. I'm going to find my my 0 point that I have been using throughout here. Oop. And what I'll do, I'll bring the camera around here so you guys can see the spin. Okay, so we're at our 0 point here. We're going to go around, take a full turn. So there's our that's out right there, 25 thousandths. And then that's coming back. And then, so coming up here in this next section here is the area that we were shrinking in here. And it was minus 15 before. Okay, so we picked up a bit there, so it's improved a little bit. I think I'm going to go back and do a couple more in there off camera, a couple more shrinks, and then I don't know. I'm going to quit messing with it. At some point, you got to get off of the horse and kind of move on to the next thing here. Okay, so there's our 0 point again. So we'll just do a full rev straight. There's our low point coming up there. And back to 0. Okay, great. So I'm going to do a couple more shrinks on there, and then we'll see. We're going to get off the horse here. Oop. Okay, so after screwing around with it for a while here, I'm calling it good, and I'm going to get off the horse now. So here's our 0 point where we've been starting. So we're just going to go around. So it did pretty good. There's still this 1/25,000th hump. I'm not super worried about that. And then this was the area that was 15 thousandths that way. So now we're basically almost 0 there. So really, we're looking at 25 thousandths about. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm calling it right there. Okay, so we're going to call it. It's 30 thousandths. That's total indicator reading. Okay. And so the high to the low, all right? So that's pretty good. You can fart around with this and keep going, but it's, the law of diminishing returns. So now I'm going to show this from a couple different angles, so we'll get another view here. Okay, so here's what I want. This is why I went through this whole exercise. So, when this thing's turning in use, right, what I really don't want to see is I don't want to see this rim doing any of this business here, okay? It's just visually detracting. So, crap, it's all gloppy there. So what I want to do is just kind of, let's see if we can see this mark here. Okay, so we got a mark close to that edge. So what I want you to look at, and this is what my goal was here, is when I turn this, when I spin it, compare this edge to that line. So you have a visual line there. Okay, so I'm spinning it pretty fast now, there's some little local bumps and stuff like that. Oop, and then I'm rocking it a little bit now too. But that's really what I wanted. I wanted the thing to, visually run true, right? Because when you're operating the press, this is really the signature part of the press and what you're going to see there. So anyway, that came out pretty good. All right, so the last thing I wanted to show was the corrections on the inside here with the flame straightening, and we'll rotate around. So this is the area that really needed a bunch of work here, and make sure you guys can see all that. So these two sections, this area here, as I mapped it out, really were the ones that I had to work on. So this is, was the heavy area here that I was working there. Anyway, you can see that. This is going to get painted, and these are just heat discoloration. There's no bumps to feel or anything like that. On thin material, sometimes you get a little swelling or an upset, but on thick stuff you don't. So that would just polish off if we wanted to keep this unpainted. But this thing is going to get painted a really rich, deep brick red is what this wheel is going to be. Okay. Anyway, so I just wanted to show that corrective process. Okay, so that's about it for this installment of the etching press hand wheel. So next on the agenda for this is to do the radiusing of the rim. So we're all set to go on the Troika rotary table. So we're going to get this up in the little Acra mill and chew these corners off here. I'll probably do a little preparatory grinding in here before we start milling on it, but so that'll be the next episode. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you like this. I showed some different stuff here. Not a lot of welding, but welding is welding, right? So anyway, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.